Okay, so if we are looking to specifically order parts which we have declared as being stocked items, so things like your engine oils, bulbs, wipers, that kind of stuff, then hopefully you set the item card up properly, which I will go over shortly. But that will mean that we can use this product called Requisition Worksheet Express. So under purchasing, there is this button, Requisition Worksheet Express. So if I open that up, you should get this list. And if I click on default, because there's only one template, then you should get a page that looks just like this. Very simple page. If I click Calculate Plan in the top right-hand corner, then I have a set of filters I can apply. So at the moment, this is looking at any item with any description in any location, because there are no filters applied to anything. So if I click OK now, it's going to look at my entire items list, which in this system is about 6 items, which will, so it'll be very quick. So I'll just click OK there, and it has come up and said, right, order these parts, or this many of these parts, as you can see. So it's brought up the item number, the description of it, location I don't actually need because I'm only single branch, but if you're multi-branch, that would come into play. Then the quantity that I should order and the vendor off of the item card. So I can change this vendor, obviously, by clicking in and selecting a different vendor, or by over-typing the vendor. But this is the vendor that we last purchased this item from. And in the fact box, we've got some information which you will have set up in the item card, perhaps. So this item here, this item is a part. I've said I want to reorder when I've only got 5, and I don't want any more than 10 in stock, and I've currently got none. So it wants me to order 5 to bring me back up to my reorder point, which would basically mean this wouldn't be in the list again. If I had 5 in stock, it wouldn't ask me to order any. Well, if I had 6 in stock, it wouldn't ask me to order any. So what you can do, though, let's imagine let's just delete this out of here. You imagine in your systems, you'd actually have a lot more items than that. So what you'd probably want to utilize is a filter for something like item category code. So one thing you should probably all be using this for is ordering your stocked fluids, gearbox oil, brake fluid, that kind of stuff, engine oil at the end of the month. So if I filter to my stocked fluids item category, then click OK, then I'm only presented with those. So I might be buying those direct from Total or Fuchs or from Euro Car Parts or whatever. So you could filter to specific vendors. You could say, right, show me the parts which are using this calculate plan button. You could filter to, right, what parts do I need to order from Euros, what parts do I need to order from, or what stock oils should I buy, or what wiper blades or what brakes or suspension items I should buy by using the item category code, or any other filter that any other field that exists in the item card that you can narrow it down to. So if I just take that out of there and run it again, just to give us a bigger list, I can click in here and change the quantities that I want to order. So I'll just have one of those, etc., etc. Change the vendor, and then if I hit process lines at the top, then I have the option to print the order if I want to, or not. I won't bother in this example, and click OK. And what that will actually do then is run down those lines, and for each different vendor number, create a purchase order. So if I just calculate that plan again and show you. Because you remember I changed this from 4 to 1, and then raise purchase order. It's now asking me to order another 3 of those, because that will then bring it up. But everything else has disappeared because we've now got it on a purchase order. So the system's expecting to see it. So if I go to purchasing, purchase orders, here's a purchase order that was created. if I open that up, it will have all the lines on it that we had in that requisition worksheet. You all with me so far? Pretty simple. Okay.
So will it give you suggested purchases then, Reece, or will it only do based on what you've told it?
It looks at quite a few criteria. You mean the Requisition Worksheet Express?
Yeah, so I'm thinking that, if for example, we've sold 10 widgets and we didn't realise that we needed to stock them, would it tell you that,
No.
you've sold a load of these?
No.
Okay.
No. So what it will look at is things like how many you want to keep and how many is your maximum, how many you've got out on a job. So it's difficult to show you in a demo system, but if you imagine with oil,
Yeah.
if you're using service packages that have predefined oil in, say let's just say you put C3 in everything, 530 C3 in everything. So you've actually got that item on your service package. Then you quite easily have, if you've got 200 jobs in your system, you could quite easily have 400 or 500 litres of oil on your job sheets.
Yeah.
So if you've told the system, well, when I've got 200 litres in stock, I want to order more, then it's going to look at it and go, well, you've got 400 on open jobs, so we need to order 600 at least to get what you've got on order satisfied and bring your stock level up to the 200 minimum that you want. You get me?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you need to, so if you have obviously if you're not using specific part numbers and you've just got a miscellaneous line on your job sheets, then that wouldn't be a problem. It will only come a problem when they come on. But that's one thing that I do see quite commonly is engine oils. The system will tell you to order, and that's why it's key that you actually validate each line there, because the system will tell you to order enough to cover everything you've got on open orders, so on job sheets, and bring your stock level up. So if you're doing it at the beginning of every month, assuming you're on a 30-day end of month payment terms with your suppliers, then that will be ideal. But if you run a requisition worksheet towards the end of the month, it's not thinking about your cash flow. It's just going to think about how do I satisfy the numbers in the system. So that's why you just need to be careful when and where you're ordering these things. Of course, doing this hasn't actually ordered it. It's just raised a purchase order for me to action. So let's look at some item cards and show you some of this setup. So I've actually got this reordering policy column enabled in my items list, because it's a very easy way. Basically, the short version is if there's a reordering policy, then it's an item that I want to stock. So if you enable that column, if you're using this way, then it will it's very easy for you to visualize. In fact, if you don't know, anyone who doesn't know, I'll show you now. If you open the filter pane by clicking the funnel looking icon or filter icon at the top of the screen here on the right hand side, then I can actually set a filter. So if I say click on this, right click on there and filter to this value, then I've now filtered to items that have a reordering policy of maximum quantity. And you can see that I've now got a save button here with a little pencil. So if I click that, then I have the opportunity to go items. So I can save that filter. So I can very quickly just come here and say, which items are my stocked items, or again, go to all, so on and so forth. That's a user-based filter saved then. Okay, I believe. Right, so let's open an item card. Okay, so in the item card, if you scroll down to replenishment, planning. If you scroll down to planning, then once the reordering, on a standard item, the reordering policy is blank, which means all of these fields are grayed out. Don't do anything. So there are other reordering policies, but the only one we recommend you actually use is maximum quantity. It just works perfectly for what we need. So maximum quantity, once that's set, then the only fields really that you need to worry about are reorder point, which of course is at what point would we want to prompt to order more, and then the maximum inventory. So what's the maximum you'd want to have on hand at any one time? And that gives you everything you need really to run your accurate stock reordering. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
Sorry, Reese. Just there on we use this a lot, and I just noticed the only thing we use there, and we stock only maybe one or two of each items. We use the minimum order quantity and maximum order quantity, and we don't use any of the other items.
Mm-hmm. You can use those. It just depends on what items you are ordering and what's specific for those. You know, when you start using it, you start to realise once you've run a couple of these requisition worksheets, you start to realise which items are perhaps not set properly because it's always telling you to order, 600 litres or something, or 45 of these, and you only ever keep 10 on the shelf. And so it is one of these things that you need to sort of tweak until you get them right. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You can set those minimum and maximum order quantity values also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that so obviously with this the ordering process that's what makes sense. But what about stock taking though, Reece?
So if you search for physical inventory journal, and don't forget you can bookmark these things you search for, which will put them on your homepage by clicking this little bookmark symbol here. Or when you've actually opened the journal itself, there is also the same bookmark symbol up here in the top right. So physical inventory journals for stock take. I actually love this feature. So if we go to prepare along the top and calculate inventory, then we have to set some filters. So we'll do a posting date, which will be today. And we need to give it a document number. So we could do stock for 8, argument's sake. But whatever document number you want. So we're going to include items that are not on inventory. So in other words, I want to also stock take items which are showing as zero stock. And you can choose whether you want to stock take items which have never been bought or sold, which is something you would do probably if you've recently gone live with Garage Hive, because you'd have a lot of items in there which don't have any history, but are on your shelf. And again, like with the requisition worksheet, you can specifically filter this to perhaps your fluids or your tyres, if you're going to just get someone to go through your tyre rack, or your wiper blades, so on and so forth. So you'd filter them to categories or item numbers or whatever you wanted. So if we click OK, then the system generates a report. Now, it's quite smart, this excludes the vehicle sales stuff. Obviously, I've used this for demos for a few things. So this is all of my items, the top items here you'll recognise from what we were doing before. So by default, the system is suggesting a positive adjustment for this item. And it's saying there's none in stock. And then I have this physical inventory, which is the only column I can actually change. Everything else is locked out. This is not for adjusting your prices or anything like that. It's literally for changing your stock value. So you can do one or two. This is a stock take and also an adjustment at the same time. So once you've generated this report, I recommend that you go to print at the top and print. And then this is obviously up to you. So that you have this slider here, show quantity calculated. I'll slide it in this example. And we'll hit preview, show you what we get. So we get this rather lovely report of item number and description and bin locations if you're using that. Then this column here was what we opted to show by putting that slider on. The reason why it's an option is probably not so much for us, but you imagine if it said 12, then someone might just write 12 in the column next to it and not actually go and count. So if you were to exclude that column, then somebody has to actually, well, either make it up or do a stock take. So the idea is you print this off, then go to your shelf and actually scribble with the biro your actual stock quantities in physical inventory. Then you'd come back to the computer and you'd click in here and you'd rally down. You'd say, right, well, 2 of those, 5 of those, 10 of those. And then I need to find one. Right, so here's an example. So you see, we still got positive adjustment on the right-hand side here. If I go down to this one here where it says I've got 1, and I change it to 0, then the system knows it's automatically changed that line to become a negative adjustment. And it's going to negatively adjust by 1. And you see this right-hand column has been adjusting itself automatically, so I'm just filling in the physical inventory column. So if I said actually that the physical inventory of this item was 2, then I'm back to positive adjustment, and you see it's going to do an adjustment by 1 to bring me to 2. So the idea is you just fill this out. The important thing to note is this report is not live data. It was generated today, the posting date of today. So when I hit that button before we generate that report, these quantity calculated columns were as of right now. So if I was to run this report, print it out and take a week to actually do it and put it back in again, it's going to be wrong. Because in that week, we've bought and sold these items that are on this list and the values won't update. So you could obviously run this, print it, wait a week. You could come back here, rerun it again, but then the printout you're working off isn't going to match this, which is fine. You could do it, but you'd have to then cross-reference your item numbers. Whereas if you run this report, print it off, do it, come back here and fill this out, you can literally do what I just said, which is have the paper in front of you, click here and go 2, down arrow 3, down arrow 4, and fill it out and hit post. It's a very simple process, especially if you take it in small chunks and do just your wipers or just your bulbs or whatever. Okay.
So when that's done, then you post it, is that?
When that's done, you go to post and print and post, yeah. And that's all from this webinar. If you've got any queries about anything that was talked about during this webinar, please don't hesitate to contact a member of the team.